Alrighty, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. And in today's video, I want to go over characters that I think should get a buff, and what type of buff they should probably get. Definitely let me know in the comments what characters you feel like should get a buff and what you would do to buff them. And also make sure you guys, subscribe and like. Why don't we introduce like goals to the channel, right? Let's see. Let's try to get 20 likes on this video, right? I don't know what the average like goal is, or what the average like number we get on this channel is. So let's just start low, I guess. 20 likes is fair enough. But yeah, we're going to be talking about characters that should get a buff, and what I probably would do for their buffs, or at least what's coming to mind for their buffs, right? So yeah, subscribe and and let's go. So obviously I'm gonna start off with a character like Isabel, because I know this is a character that is a bit of a, I want to say, a letdown, especially when you're a pilgrim. Every pilgrim, I feel like the pilgrim should not be bad at all. No pilgrims in this game should be bad whatsoever, right? So for a character who, she's not a bad character, it's just I don't think she's gonna be all that. She's definitely not a top 10, definitely not a top 20. Definitely not. But let's see. So one thing I dislike about this this Isabel is that her first skill is only activating when her burst skill is activated, which means every other 40 seconds, right? Which means you have to use her burst skill, what's it called, 3 times, right? Her specifically. And it's not all that bad, because in the first skill, all these buffs last for 45 seconds, which is still going to just, what's it called, be applied the whole time. You're not going to be losing something. These buffs will be applied for 45 seconds, which is nice. But my thing is, it's going to take quite long, and you're gonna want to have these other buffs by the time before it's too late, essentially, right? So when you use her burst skill the first time, let's say I have her the second burst 3 on my team, right? I would have to use another person's burst 3, then hers. That would activate the first time, then that person's, and then hers again. That already is what, 40 seconds past, maybe around 40 seconds past, of course, because her burst skill. And then you use her second skill, boom, or you use her burst skill the second time, you get the second effect. You use another person's burst skill and use hers again, get the third effect, right? So it's kind of it's gonna take long. By the time you get this completely done, you're probably gonna be we're already past a minute in, right? Especially for cooldown's last 40 seconds. To do it 3 times is what, 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes, right? So it's gonna take quite long to get her full effect. Do you need her full effect? I mean, I would want it, right? If I could get that attack buff, that crit damage buff and crit rate buff all at once, I would want it, right? So what I think they should do is make it that it's not when you're using a burst skill, but when you enter a burst stage, right? Like Neon, right? And Neon introduced this type of effect, I believe. I don't know if any other character has it like this, where they get an effect when you enter a burst stage, right? That will make it a lot faster, and it would still, we could still use her burst skill as well. Another thing is, though, but on her burst skill, she does lower the burst skill time, or the full burst time by 5 seconds, right? So there's that. But I think if you just bring Modernia, it just cancels out, so it just goes back to 10 seconds, right? But yeah, I think I personally would like to buff her. Maybe I'd even buff up these numbers, right? Especially if you want me to, if you don't change it to burst stage and you want me to wait basically 2 minutes for the full effect, make the attack buff at least 30-40%, right? Maybe that might be too greedy, but if I'm already 2 minutes in out of a 2 minute and 30 minute, or 2 minute and 30 second match to a 3 minute match, then I think it's fair, right? Because it's not like I'm getting it instantly, right? If I have to wait 2 minutes to get the full effect, I think that'd be nice, right? The crit damage and the crit rate, if you want to keep it like that, by all means, but that attack buff, bring that to 30-40%, right? That's just what I feel, right? I don't know how everybody would buff this character. That's what I would do, right? And then also, since this is every 15 seconds, like, it's fine. Maybe I would bring it up to 200 and like maybe 200% as well. Just slightly under Dorothy since the cooldown is like 15 seconds and not 20. And then the numbers here, you deal 100 to it. Oh my god, no, let's increase this first. Let's get this from 149.85% to like a whopping 600. How about that? And then you could keep these additional damage. Like, she's a pilgrim, so it's like I think she just needs to be better. She just needs to be better. Now, I'm not gonna talk about Crow, because Crow is a character that they already said is getting a buff. I think Crow is actually the next character to get a buff. Right, and besides that, there's a lot of characters I would buff. Julia's a nice character I would buff too, right? I think Julia's great, right, in terms of like how her kit works. I think like her kit looks nice when you read it, right? Affect self every other 10 seconds basically. After the first 20 seconds, you're gonna have your crit rate increase by 26%, right? But you're probably gonna, like, this right here is a pretty okay effect too, but you're probably gonna wanna either make it that the crit rate is permanent. That's really all I could think of, right? Make it that the crit rate is somewhat permanent, right? So just change it to like 10 seconds, like it's just there the whole time, because this is a character who needs to crit, right? And then you increase the crit damage. The crit damage is not bad, right? Increasing your crit damage by damn near 100%, basically 100%. It is over 100% actually. Increasing your crit rate by 100% when fully stacked, or your crit damage, my bad, your crit damage by 100% when fully stacked, on top of having the crit rate with your base crit rate, is not bad at all. The problem is, what is she too? She's an SR? No, she's an AR. I said SR. She's an AR. But yeah, I would probably just make this permanent. Like, I don't want to go crazy with these buffs. I'm not gonna completely change them to where now they're just like silly, right? I'm gonna make it like somewhat reasonable. I think having the crit rate permanent is fine. Or you know what they could do, bro? I feel like Julia should be like the only character in the game. I mean, they could have more in the future, but let me know if you guys agree with this. I feel like Julia should be the only character in the game that should like be guaranteed, like should guarantee to crit, right? So her first skill says guaranteed crits, and then you have this second part. That would make her a lot better. That would make her a lot better. She guaranteed crit, and then after the last bullet hit with characters like Privity, that's going to be a lot easier too. Right, and if you have Admi or whatever, no, you don't even need Privities alone is very good for this character. Right, you have her on the team, which is a free character as well. Boom, you're gonna get that stacked up. But the only thing is, what is her numbers at level 1? Right, 14%. So this is a character that probably needs a buff on her crit rate or her crit damage, because it's 24% at level 10 skills. Ain't nobody going to level 10 for a Julia. So increase this, make it like make a slight adjustment, if that makes sense. So take it from 14 to like 20% on level 1, and then have the like last number still be like 24. So have it like upgrade slowly from there. I think that's fair, rather than having me start from like 14% and then go all the way to 24 on level 10 skills. God knows I'm not doing that. And please increase this as well. This number is quite low, especially since it's affecting only 5 enemies and not all enemies. All right, deals 500, like maybe 700 or 800, I think it's okay, but right, it's just, I'm not sure how I would really completely like buff up these characters and then be like, yeah, I'm sure this is how they should do it, right? Because we've only gotten a few buffs and we're still figuring out how they're doing it. Like, clearly Guillotine is a good example. They just like made it that she worked a lot better, right? And Solene as well, right? But then we still haven't had that many buffs where I could see these types of characters, right? Similar there, similar that, similar this. But for right now, I think those are like the only 2 characters I would want to see a buff for, Isabel and Julia. I think there's other characters, of course, right? There's a lot of other characters I would like. I would love to see a buff for this Rupee, surprisingly. But for now, I'll just leave it at Isabel and Julia. You guys let me know what you guys would do for those 2 specific characters, if you do know what you want to do for those 2 characters with a buff, if they get a buff, or what characters that obviously I didn't mention. Like, maybe I make it a series or something, I don't know, where I go over characters, or we can even go over you guys' characters and see what the community wants, right? What the community wants characters to get buffed as, and then read it on the video or whatever. But definitely let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe and like. Let's get 20 likes, like I said. If we get 20 likes, I will make another video going over you guys' buffs, like what you guys want to what characters you want to get buffed and what they should do for their buff, right? But yeah, it's your boy Zxous, and I'm out. Peace.